Hey guys, my name is Simeo, and today I wanted to go over what I consider to be the best support weapons in Battlefield 1. The support class is in an interesting place right now, and it's very challenging because, for the most part, I think the general consensus of the community is that their weapons are fairly lackluster compared to all of the other weapons in the game. You can be successful with them, but it is very challenging. And then so what I want to do today is go over the weapons that I've had the most success with, the ones that I find to be most viable, so that if you've been struggling with this class, hopefully this can be at least a little helpful while you're running around on the battlefield with this kit. And so in my opinion, what it comes down to is a competition between the Madsen and the Bar. A lot of people would have you believe that the Bar is the best choice for the support class, and it's hard to argue with them because of its high damage outputs. One of the biggest weaknesses of the support weapons right now is that a lot of them take a long time to get started to be able to kill the enemy. Because of the way that the mechanics work right now, you have to hold down the trigger for an extended period of time to get the accuracy going, and a lot of the light machine guns also have a slow rounds per minute, and so if the enemy is halfway decent, they're just simply going to be able to outgun you because they're not having to deal with that lack of accuracy to start off with. And so the great thing about the Bar is that it has a high rounds per minute, the highest out of all the support weapons, coming in at 600, and its damage is solid. And so in a one-on-one fight, the Bar is probably the best weapon that you can be using to take out the enemy. Not only that, but the trench version of this gun is a hell of a lot of fun. The hipfire accuracy isn't necessarily laser beam, but as long as you close the gap, as long as you play things close to the chest, the hipfire accuracy on top of that high damage output makes for a very satisfying gameplay. And so if you've been someone who's been struggling with this kit, you've had a hard time being successful, you can't go wrong with the Bar. Its biggest weakness right now is that it only has 20 rounds in a magazine, and this is something that you're gonna have to work around. 20 rounds is not a lot to be able to take out multiple targets, and so if you enter into a room and there's 3 enemies in front of you, if you're good enough, you'll be able to take out 2 of them, but that third one, you're probably gonna have to rely on your pistol. And so just know that this does not have a lot of room for air. It's its biggest weakness, and it's also the reason why I recommend the Madsen. The Madsen doesn't have as high of a damage output. It's sitting at a rounds per minute of 540, which isn't anything to laugh about, by the way. That's only a 60 rounds per minute difference. But the great thing about this gun is that it does have 31 rounds in its magazine. I would actually say that this plays out more like an assault rifle than a light machine gun. If you've been looking for an equivalent of an assault rifle in Battlefield 1, the Madsen might be up your alley. Now, the biggest weakness of this thing, I think, is its gigantic magazine that's going to obstruct your vision. I cannot tell you how many times I've just simply lost my target because they move sporadically out in the distance and the metal was obstructing my vision. I just lost them, and that gave them the opportunity to either get behind cover, so I had no idea where they were, or give them that brief little window to retaliate and potentially take me out. Now, you can work around it, and eventually you do get adjusted to it, but I highly recommend that you use the AA sights. Now, I know the AA sights aren't going to be for everyone, but I gotta say that as soon as I started to use them over the normal iron sights, I felt like I was a hell of a lot more accurate. I had a better idea of where the enemy was moving, and this is true for pretty much all the light machine guns. One of my main recommendations when you are playing as this class is try out the AA sights. As I mentioned, it isn't going to be for everyone, and it will probably take some adjustments, but at least for me, it felt like I had a better field of view of what was going on. It didn't seem to obstruct my vision. I could track the enemy at long range better, and so once again, if you have been struggling, try out the AA sights, and for me, it has definitely been a game changer. Now, if these two weapons aren't to your liking and you want to play more of that supportive role, you want to just put a lot of bullets down range and suppress the enemy, then I recommend you try out the MG15. I think the reason why I love this gun as much as I do is that as long as you have a more passive playstyle, you're not charging in like a madman, you're trying to just lock down an objective, this can be a very effective way at killing multiple targets without ever having to reload. I've had some incredible moments where I was locking down the streets of Amiens and just picking people off at medium to long range, and because this thing does have a fairly high rounds per minute, I cannot stress this enough, it seems like RPM is a deal breaker when it comes to these weapons. On top of its RPM and its accuracy, you can really do a number on the enemy team. Now, the deal breaker with this gun is that as soon as you start to move while shooting, your accuracy is going to go all over the place. This is true for pretty much all the light machine guns, but especially true for the MG15. You need to be standing still while you're shooting at the enemy because you're just not going to hit your target at a medium distance, or it's going to give them plenty of time to retaliate, and especially if they're using a DMR like the M1916, they're going to have no problem taking you out. This is probably the reason why the light machine guns feel so weak right now, is that because when you're standing still, you're leaving yourself vulnerable. I mean, I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten counter-sniped or I've gotten taken out by a DMR because, of course, a stationary target is a hell of a lot easier to take out than one that's moving around. And so, while I would not say that it is the best of the best, the MG15 is a great gun. It gives you a lot of room for error, and if you haven't really been enjoying the Bar or the Madsen because you just don't enjoy that playstyle, I would recommend the MG15 for more of that passive role. All in all, though, even with these recommendations, I still believe that the support class needs to get a buff in the future. If the beta is any indication of the disparity between this kit and all of the others, it definitely needs an upgrade. It needs some loving because people clearly just aren't playing as this kit. I'm sure they've done a little bit to upgrade its efficiency ever since the beta, but I don't think that they've done enough. I do realize that this is going to be a tough line for DICE to walk because we don't want them to be overpowered, but we also want them to have their place in Battlefield 1, which doesn't really seem to be the case right now. These weapons are getting destroyed up close by assault. Medium to long range, they're of course getting ruined by designated marksman rifles for the medic or the bolt actions for the scout class, and their suppression effect doesn't seem to have that much of impact on the way that firefights play out. And so while I know it's going to be challenging, I know that if they increase their accuracy, we run the risk of them becoming laser beams, we increase their damage, then they might be too good up close or even at medium distance, but I really do think that something needs to be done, and I'm hoping that DICE is working on it. But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about my recommendations. Do you agree that the Bar and the Madsen is probably the best two choices right now? Is there some other weapon that you like to use? Let me know down below. But yeah, guys, until tomorrow, have a good one and take it easy.